Hello friends, welcome to the video lessons on electronic measuring instruments. In today's class, we will discuss about operation of CRT. But before going to the present topic, let us try to recollect what we have discussed in the previous class. In the previous class, we discussed about what is CRO and what is the importance of CRO, what are the various blocks of CRO and function of each block in a CRO. So basically CRO is a measuring instrument which can give the visual display of the voltage signals applied to it, and CRO can be used for the measurements of both AC voltages, currents, then frequency of to measure frequency of an unknown signal, time period, phase angle, pulse width, pulse duration, and they can also be measured used for the measurement of other parameters such as temperature, pressure, flow rate, velocity, acceleration, viscosity. All these are non-electrical parameters. All these parameters can also be measured using CRO, provided using appropriate transducers. All these non-electrical parameters should be converted into equivalent electrical parameters before they are applied to CRO. Then we have seen the function of each block of CRO. CRO mainly consists of CRT, vertical amplifier, attenuator before vertical amplifier, a delay line after vertical amplifier, and a trigger switch to provide input to the trigger circuit either from vertical amplifier output or from external signal or from internal signal or from line signal. Then the trigger circuit, output of trigger circuit is given to a time based generator or sweep generator. Output of the sweep generator is given to a horizontal amplifier. Then output of the horizontal amplifier is given to horizontal deflection plates. Output of the vertical amplifier is given to vertical deflection plates through a delay line in order to make sure that both horizontal signal and vertical signal are applied simultaneously to the deflection plates. Now, in today's class, let us try to concentrate on the heart of CRO, that is CRT. Let us try to analyze what are the various parts of CRT and what is the function of each part of CRT. CRT, that is cathode ray tube, is the heart of the CRO, and it is responsible for the visual display of the quantity that is applied at the input of CRO. CRT mainly consists of a heater and a cathode. This heater will heat the cathode, and the cathode is coated with special materials which eject high large number of electrons when energy is supplied. Then the output of the cathode, that is the beam of electrons, is allowed to pass through a control grid. This control grid is provided with negative power supply. Provided with negative power supply. And the negative voltages on control grid will control the concentration of electrons. Those are passing through a narrow hole in the control grid. Control grid actually would be of cylindrical shape, and a small narrow passage will be there, a hole will be there, coaxial with the cathode and the control and the heater element at the center. So depending upon the amount of negative voltage on the control grid, the concentration of electrons that are passing through the control grid will vary. The lesser the negative voltage on control grid, the more will be the concentration of electrons passing through the control grid. So this control grid is mainly used to control the intensity of electron beam. That is the number of electrons that are present in the electron beam. Then those electrons coming out of the narrow passage through control grid are allowed to pass through first anode. This is called as pre-accelerating anode. And this pre-accelerating anode is maintained at very high positive potential, approximately around 1500 volts. As a result, what happens? The electrons being negatively charged are attracted towards this pre-accelerating anode or first anode. They start moving very quickly. They are accelerated towards the first anode. That is, the speed will increase because of the attraction. And next to the pre-accelerating anode, there will be a anode called focusing anode. A focusing anode. This focusing anode also would be maintained at a positive potential of approximately 500 volts. So the electrons that are passing through, that are accelerated by the first anode or pre-accelerating anode and passing through it, will be attracted towards the focusing anode. Because focusing anode is also maintained at positive voltage, the electrons will be further attracted. Then from that the electrons will pass through the second anode, which is called as accelerating anode. The first anode is called as pre-accelerating anode, and the second one is called as accelerating anode. In between these two, there is focusing anode. Now, these accelerating anodes also are maintained at 1500 volts potential. So, the electrons would be further accelerated and they leave the accelerating anode with very high kinetic energy. And those electrons passing through the accelerating anode are made to deflect in the vertical plane up and down. Here, vertical plane is provided with the amplified input voltage. External input voltage is amplified and that is applied as input to the vertical deflection plates. As a result, the electron beam starts deflecting in the vertical plane. How does it deflect? Depending upon the relative polarities of these two plates and the amount of voltage difference or potential difference. Suppose if the top plate is if the amplified input signal is in its positive half cycle, let us suppose, then during the first quarter of the positive half cycle, the lower deflection plate would be negative compared with the upper deflection plate. So the electrons from center starts moving towards the upper plate as the voltage increases sinusoidally in the first quarter of the cycle. And by the time the amplified vertical input reaches its maximum, the electron beam would be almost close to the upper plate. Then, when the amplified input voltage starts decreasing sinusoidally in the second quarter, then the electron beam, which is closer to the upper plate, starts gradually moving away from it, and by the time the vertical input voltage becomes zero, the electron beam would be at the middle exactly. Then during the negative half cycle, upper plate would be negative compared with the lower plate. So during the negative half cycle first part, that is when the voltage is increasing in the negative direction, the electron beam starts moving towards the lower plate. And during the fourth quarter of the signal, when the electron beam starts decreasing towards zero, the electron beam starts once again moving back, and by the time the vertical input becomes zero, the electron beam would settle at the middle. So what happens in one cycle? The electron beam starts moving gradually towards the upper plate in the first quarter of the cycle. During the second quarter of the cycle, it starts moving away from the upper plate and settles at the center. During the negative half cycle or during the third quarter of the vertical input, the electron beam starts moving towards the lower plate, And during the fourth quarter of the cycle, the electron beam would once again move away from the lower plate and will settle down at the center. That is how the electron beam moves up and down back to center in one cycle. At the same time, a horizontal input is applied. A sweep signal is applied to the horizontal deflection plates. This sweep signal, it is nothing but a continuously increasing ramp voltage. That is, always the left plate would be at zero potential and right plate potential would increase linearly. Now what happens? The electron beam starts moving gradually towards the right screen, right plate. And then when the voltage is decreasing, the electron beam starts moving towards the left side. So when both horizontal voltage and vertical voltage are applied simultaneously, then what happens? The highly accelerated electron beam moving simultaneously both in horizontal and vertical directions will hit the surface of the CRO screen at different positions on the screen during one cycle. At each position when the electron beam hits the surface, the material coated on the CRO screen, that is phosphor material, would emit light. So at each position when the electron beam hits the surface, light will be generated. So that is how continuous dots on the entire screen starting from left to right of the CRO would give us a visual display of the variation of the applied input signal as a function of time. We can see the visual display. How we get this light? This light is generated because of the property of the material that is applied for the CRO screen. A material called as phosphor is used for that purpose. Phosphor has got the property of converting the kinetic energy of electrons into light energy. So at every position where the electron beam hits the surface of the CRO screen, a luminous spot will be generated. And the luminous spot will have some persistence time. That means it is the time for which the illuminated light will continue to be present even in the absence of electron beam. And this property of the screen material, that is phosphor, is called as phosphorescence. The property of emitting light when hit by electron beam by absorbing kinetic energy and converting it into light energy is called as fluorescence. And the property of phosphor material to continue producing light even after the electron beam changes to another position is called as phosphorescence. And the time for which the phosphor material will produce or will provide light or luminous spot on the CRO screen even in the absence of electron beam is called as persistence time. Now, we have to select the phosphor material in such a way that the persistence time of the phosphor material should be greater than the persistence time of human eye. What is this persistence time of human eye? Just imagine that you have seen something bright and you just close your eyes for a while. Then that brightness continues to be present in your vision for a little more time before it disappears. That time is called as persistence of human vision. And the persistence of the phosphor material, if it is greater than the persistence of the human vision, then what happens? Continuously we can screen a bright display of the electron beam movement on the CRO screen. That is how we have to select the phosphor material. And now the electrons accelerated to very high potential to very high velocities, they will come and hit the surface of the CRO screen, that is the phosphor coating. And of course, the kinetic energy is imparted to the phosphor material and luminous spot is generated. But once the kinetic energy is transferred, the electrons will move back or bounce back into uh, the empty space across the CRT screen, and these reflected electrons with very low kinetic energy are called as secondary electrons. All these secondary electrons are to be absorbed and they should not come in the path of the electron beam. So, a material known as aquadag is applied on the side walls of the CRT using a graphite. The graphite coating, it has the property of absorbing all secondary emitted electrons, and all those electrons will be attracted towards graphite coating, because this graphite coating also would be maintained at the second anode potential. The graphite coating also would be maintained at a high positive potential. So as a result, all the secondary electrons emitted, they will be attracted and they are bypassed to ground, so that they will not disturb the path of the highly accelerated electron beam at the center of the CRT screen. So this is how a CRT produces visual display of the applied input signal at the vertical input. Now, the entire arrangement, that is the cathode, heater, control grid, pre-accelerating, accelerating and focusing anodes, vertical deflection plate, horizontal deflection plate, All these will be I mean closed. All these will be encapsulated in a vacuum tube. All these will be encapsulated in a vacuum tube. Why vacuum tube? Because if there is air, the air also will have some atoms and it also can produce electrons in presence of strong electric fields. So that will disturb the electron beam. So we have to encapsulate the entire assembly in a vacuum glass envelope, and this is the vacuum glass envelope. And to the vacuum glass envelope, all connections are provided using various terminals, and through these terminals we will get the voltages to various parts with different amplitudes. This is called as base of the CRT. Base of the CRT. Is that clear? Now, let us move on. This is the arrangement giving more detailed picture. CRT base with electrodes connected, and this is the cathode filament, and this is the heater, this is the control grid, pre-accelerating anode, focusing anode, accelerating anode, vertical deflection plates, horizontal deflection plates, aqueduct coating, fluorescent material coating, and CRT screen, glass envelope. And the portion starting from the cathode till the focusing accelerating anode is called as electron gun assembly, and the two deflection plates collectively is known as deflection plate assembly, and the remaining portion is the display unit, and the front side is I mean the portion which is near to the heater element or the back side of the CRT is called CRT base, provided with electrodes to supply voltages of various amplitudes to different parts of the CRT. Now, main parts of CRT, as I told already: electron gun assembly, deflection plate assembly, fluorescent screen, glass envelope, CRT base, and graticule. We'll see about this graticule after some time at the end. First, electron gun assembly. Electron gun assembly mainly consists of a heater, a cathode, a control grid. Here is the heater. This is cathode, control grid, a pre-accelerating anode, a focusing anode, and accelerating anode. Heater. What is the purpose? It will heat the cathode. With a red arrow mark it is shown. Cathode. Electrons are emitted from the hot cathode. Control grid. Here control grid is shown. It will be of a cylindrical shape. The electrons emitted from the cathode pass through a small hole in the control grid. The control grid is usually a nickel cylinder with a centrally located hole coaxial with the CRT axis. The control grid, with its negative bias, controls the number of electrons emitted from the cathode, and hence the intensity of electron beam is controlled by the bias on the control grid. This we have discussed already. Then, pre-accelerating and accelerating anodes. The first anode is called as pre-accelerating anode, and the second anode is called as accelerating anode. The electrons, after passing through the control grid, are accelerated by a high positive potential which is applied by the pre-accelerating anode and accelerating anode. They are connected to a common positive voltage of about 1500 volts. Both are connected to 1500 volts supply. Because of this high positive voltage, electrons being negatively charged are attracted with very high intensity. Then focusing anode, you can see here in red color it has been marked the center between pre-accelerating and accelerating anodes. This is pre-accelerating and here is accelerating anode. It has to be at the center. Yes, this is focusing anode. The electron beam is focused by this focusing anode. The focusing anode is connected to an adjustable low voltage of 500 volts. By adjusting this voltage, we have to see that a sharp beam of electrons is generated. There are two methods of focusing: electrostatic focusing and electromagnetic focusing. And the cathode ray oscilloscope uses electrostatic focusing. And our TV tubes, they make use of electromagnetic focusing. The older version of TVs. Nowadays, the latest TVs, they use the entirely different technology. They won't use tube technology now. In the olden days, the tubes of TVs, they were making use of electromagnetic focusing. On account of difference of potential between focusing anode and the two accelerating anodes, a non-uniform field exists on each of the two ends of the focusing anode. These equipotent surfaces form a double concave electron lens, that is this type of shape. This is the first anode, this is the second anode. So at the first anode, the electrons will start moving like this. And at the second anode, they start converging like this. And focusing anode purpose is by adjusting this focus control, we have to see that the beam has to be sharp. A double concave lens type of arrangement of the electric field will make sure that the electron beam converges to one single line. By changing the voltage on the focusing anode, the refractive index of the double concave electron lens is changed, and therefore the focal point of the beam can be changed. The focal point, by adjusting this, can be at the middle or slightly upper or slightly lower. Now you can see the power supplies also. 1350 minus voltage here for the cathode and 350 here at the anodes. Total how much it will come? It will come around 1600 volts. 1600 volts. Deflection plate assembly. First one is the electron gun that we have seen. The second one is the deflection plate assembly. Electrostatic deflection is used in CRO for moving the electron beam horizontally and vertically. After leaving the electron gun assembly, the electron beam passes through the deflection plate assembly. The electron beam will be deflected vertically and horizontally under the influence of electric fields provided by the deflection plate assembly. Because of vertical deflection plates, the electron beam moves from top to bottom or bottom to top, oscillates between up and down. And due to horizontal deflection plates, the voltage applied across horizontal deflection plates, that is the sweep signal, the electron beam starts moving left to right and right to left, oscillating in the horizontal plane. Vertical deflection plates. These are mounted horizontally in the CRT. A pair of vertical deflection plates are mounted horizontally. The signal to be measured will be given to the input of the vertical deflection circuit and finally to the vertical deflection plates. The vertical deflection plates produce an electric field in the vertical plane, and this electric field deflects the electron beam in the vertical direction. It makes the electron beam to oscillate in the vertical direction, up and down. Next, horizontal deflection plates. Here is a pair of horizontal deflection plates mounted vertically in the CRT. A pair of horizontal deflection plates are mounted vertically. Linear time-based signal generated in the horizontal circuit will be given to the horizontal deflection plates. The horizontal deflection plates produce an electric field in the horizontal plane, and this field will make the electron beam move horizontally with uniform speed in the horizontal plane. It keeps on oscillating in the horizontal plane. Then, next part, the fluorescent screen. Fluorescent screen shown here, coated with a material of phosphor on its inner side. The front portion of the CRT is called the faceplate. The inner surface of the faceplate is coated with phosphor material which has the property of fluorescence. Phosphor material has the property of emitting light when it is provided with energy. Light is emitted when an electron beam strikes the phosphor material with high velocity. Why? Kinetic energy is supplied by the electron beam striking the phosphor coating with high velocity. So kinetic energy is supplied by the electron beam to the phosphor coating. This kinetic energy is converted into light energy, and as a result, this results in emission of light by the phosphor coating, thus providing the user a visual display of the CRO screen. A luminous spot will be generated for every collision of electron beam. And when the electron beam is made to oscillate both in horizontal and vertical direction, the luminous spot keeps on moving on the CRT screen. And when the persistence time of the phosphor material is higher than the persistence time of human eye, then the human eye can absorb the entire wave shape, that is a sequence of luminous spots, without any losing of data. That is, all the luminous spots connected together will form into a wave shape. And because of the persistence time, the human eye can remember all the luminous spots, and we can visualize the pattern as a wave shape. Thus, the electron beam moving across the screen horizontally and vertically display the waveform on the screen. More information about fluorescent screen. When the electron beam strikes the screen of CRT, a spot of light is produced. The screen material on the inner surface of CRT that produces this effect is the phosphor. The phosphor absorbs the kinetic energy of the bombarding electrons and re-emits energy at a low frequency in the visual spectrum, that is in the form of light. The property of some crystalline materials such as phosphor or zinc oxide to emit light when stimulated by radiation is called fluorescence. Fluorescent materials have second characteristic called phosphorescence, which refers to the property of the material to continue light emission even after the source of excitation is removed or cut off. The screen itself is coated with a thin layer of fluorescent material called phosphor. This material determines the color and persistence of the trace, both of which are indicated by the phosphor. When struck by high energy electrons, it glows. In other words, it absorbs the kinetic energy of electrons and converts it into light, the process being known as fluorescence. That is why the screen is called as fluorescent screen. The name fluorescent screen has come to the CRO screen because it exhibits the property of fluorescence. That is, when electron beam hits the surface of the screen, it emits light. Next, the color of the emitted light depends on the type of phosphor used. The trace of colors in electrostatic CRT for oscilloscopes is generally blue, green, and blue-green. In almost all the CROs, you can find only these color visual display. Persistence is expressed as a short, medium, long. Persistence refers to the length of time the trace of light remains in the screen after the signal has ended. That is the persistence of the phosphor material. The phosphor of the oscilloscope is designated as follows. Suppose if a phosphor material is designated as P1 by the manufacturer, it indicates that it emits green light and the persistence is medium. Suppose if it is given as P2, the light emitted is of blue-green color and the persistence is medium. P5, the color is blue and the persistence is very short. That is, immediately within less time, the luminous spot keeps on disappearing. P11, that is blue. The color of luminous spot is blue and the persistence time is short. These designations are combined in the type number like 5G1 indicates that it is a 5-inch tube with green luminous spot and persistence is medium. This is how the fluorescent screens are used in CRT. Then comes the glass envelope. Glass envelope is a funnel shaped having a phosphor coated screen at its flared end. It is highly evacuated in order to permit the electron beam to traverse the tube easily. The inside of the flared part of the tube is coated with a conducting graphite layer called aqueduct, which is maintained at the same potential as E3, that is, accelerating anode. The bombarding electrons striking the phosphor release secondary emission electrons, thus keeping the screen in a state of electrical equilibrium. Electrical equilibrium. What does it mean? No charge on the screen. Only energy is transferred and electrons are released back. No charge remains on the screen. These secondary emission of electrons with low velocity are collected by the aqueduct, that is the coating on the inner surfaces of the CRT glass envelope, which is electrically connected to the secondary anode, that is A3. What are the functions of aqueduct? It accelerates the electron beam after it passes between the deflecting plates, and it collects the electrons produced by secondary emission after the electron beam strikes the CRO screen. Hence, it prevents the formation of negative charge on the screen. There won't be any charge on the screen. When electrons are struck to the CRT or CRO screen, there would be some negative charge. But because of the presence of aqueduct at a very high positive potential, all these secondary emitted electrons are attracted and the screen is free from any electrical charge. And finally, the CRT base. CRT base is used to provide for electrodes or pins which supply power to various parts of the CRT. Connections are made to various parts of the CRO through this CRT base. And because of these connections, what is the purpose? It will supply different voltages to different parts of the CRO. And as I told, graticule. What is graticule? If you see the screen of a CRO, you will find horizontal and vertical lines. Those horizontal and vertical line combinations are called as graticules. The graticule is a grid of squares that serves as a reference marks for measuring the displayed trace. On the CRO screen, you will find horizontal line and vertical lines. So they form into squares, a large number of squares. And this graticule is a grid of squares that serve as a reference for measuring the displayed trace. It is the calibrated horizontal and vertical marks placed on the cathode ray tube screen to facilitate the use of the oscilloscope. It is the grid of lines that serves as a scale when making time and amplitude measurements for the signals displayed on the screen. The accuracy of these marks depends on how close the graticule marks can be placed to the actual pass fur to eliminate the parallax error. Three types of graticules are there. One is external graticule, internal graticule, and projected graticule. In case of external graticule, the lines are scribed on a plexiglass plastic and fixed to the screen on a plastic sheet, the lines are drawn and the sheet is fixed to the screen. That is called as external graticule. The distance between the marks on the graticule and the actual phosphor coating could be nearly 1 centimeter, which may cause measurement errors if not used carefully. The second one is internal graticule. The graticule lines are etched or marked on the inner surface of the front glass of the CRT tube. On the CRT or cathode ray tube. The distance of separation between phosphor and the graticule is nearly zero, and parallax errors are practically non-existent. That is, using internal graticule, the measurements are with high accuracy compared with using external graticule. And the third one is projected graticule. It provides the flexibility which can include additional features such as legends on the glass. Additional features can also be added using projected graticule. So this is all about different parts of CRT and the function of each part of CRT. Let us stop here and we will discuss the next topic later. Thank you.